July 15th meeting of the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. Welcome, everyone. We've got a heavy agenda, and we've got some changes that we need to talk about this morning. Our airport director has asked for time on the agenda about two issues that he would like to talk about. One is the resumption of food at the food service at the airport. And the other is the Upstate Airport Revitalization Grant Program, but from New York State. So I'd like to put that in after the Highway Department. The other thing is Lisa Holmes on her discussion sent us out with respect to the capital program, the PAR forms. You all might have seen them this morning in our email or last night. They're kind of lengthy and we're not going to ask her to go through all of them, but she wants us to have them for your nighttime reading. Would you before you go to bed? How's that? So we'll add that to her report. And also we have a request to add a resolution from Recycling and Materials Management. I don't know that they're going to be where they're going to be, but we'll put them. Okay, they're at 7. We'll put them at B for their resolution. I think that was handed out, so we all have that. Establishing funding for recycling and solid waste center facility site improvements. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Mike, do we need to vote on adding a resolution or any of the other?
Well, when we got there, we can do it earlier if you'd like to.
No, I was just wondering, do we need to vote on adding the resolution
When we
to
get
the agenda?
When we get to it. We can do it now if you prefer.
She's asking if you need a motion to add these items to the agenda, and the committee can either take action or it can be by consensus.
I think we needed a resolution.
I think
all the agenda itself, because this is a change to the agenda. Do we need to vote in this resolution as a substantive change to the agenda?
Don't think so.
I don't.
It doesn't need to be voted on, but the committee can take action to add it, or it can be done by consensus.
Make the motion.
You want to make a motion to add it?
Do we need, I'll make a motion to add the resolution and then the other items for the airport.
Then move
I'll
to
second it.
add the recycling and materials management resolution that's moved and seconded.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? That's
Aye.
added to the agenda. Anything else, Ann?
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have public comment this morning? Anyone want to speak to the committee, either person or on the Zoom this morning? Kathy, do you know of anyone?
Sorry?
Do you know of anyone who wants public comment?
No, I do not, Mike.
All right. Then we'll move on. Chair's report, I'll just mention that we did have a special meeting right before this meeting in which we talked about a personnel issue. No action was taken. Let's go right into our county administrator's report. Lisa.
Thanks, Mike.
Lisa Holmes.
I did send yesterday a copy of the PAR forms. I realize there are 41 pages of them and you received them yesterday, so I'm not going to have a pop quiz on them. But I did want to go through them very briefly, just on a high level for your awareness of what's contained therein. Kathy's going to put them up on the screen, and I think I hope to not take more than 10 minutes. So I'm not asking the committee to take any action today. This is just wanting to give you information. And so you can go back, as Mike said, use this as your nighttime reading material. But it's, I wanted this committee to be aware of what is in the works for the capital budget, particularly as we are going to be, you all are going to be having further discussion about the use of American Rescue Plan funds. So I wanted you to understand where some of the choices were. The first 10 PAR forms are airport projects, all of which are important projects, most of which are, if not all, are which are FAA requirements and are funded primarily through the use of federal funds, 90% federal funds, 5% state, and 5% the offset through airport PFCs. So I'm going to go through those here. And for each of the departments who have capital projects, they're all present. So if you have any questions about the details of these, I would defer to Mike Hall with us, but we have a number of improvements in terms of.
Would it be helpful if you just read the title of the
Absolutely.
on the PAR
Sure.
forms as you go along?
Sure. So I'll start.
Titles.
The aircraft rescue and firefighting vehicle is one replacement there. The second is the airport master plan and pavement management plan. An update to the airport pavement management survey. Next is airport-wide obstruction study and removal. And this has to do with the removal and mitigation of trees that are obstructing the airfield. Next is the aircraft rescue firefighting and snow removal equipment storage building at the airport. Again, another FAA requirement. Next is expansion of the public and rental car parking. Installation of the LED airfield and taxiway lighting, design and construction. The NavAid's primary wind cone. Phase 3 of the parallel taxiway rehabilitation. And phase 4 is also in the plan. Runway lighting improvements, rehabilitation, LED lights. And a broom blower, SRE equipment. And I think that's it for airport. And again, this is a very high level. I know I'm rushing through, but our airport director's here if you have questions on any of these. Okay.
Lisa, do we have a local total for those?
I did not add up a local total, but I'd be happy to.
Not
Okay.
necessary.
It's 5%, but many are, I think the majority of which expect to be offset through PFCs. Next is the Department of Emergency Response, a couple of projects there. The first being the backup dispatch center and systems upgrade, all of which we expect to be paid for through the New York State, under local, but it's New York State grants, the ongoing New York State capital funds that we receive. And then equipment renewal and replacement at the Department of Emergency Response, just ongoing scheduled maintenance. Those are the two. Oh, okay. Sure. Well, I guess it's.
Are there questions? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see that. No, I can't read it from here. Martha, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks very much. This is a different kind of Zoom, so it's hard to hear you, some of you. Thanks, Lisa. On the backup dispatch, you said that you see that as state funds.
And it's listed as local, yes. And there's a draft listed across this for a reason too. I need to go back and check that, but my understanding is that is, we expect to pay for that through the ongoing New York State funding that we receive for capital projects at the Dewar.
Right, we do get a lot of that money. I think you've also described it as shared with Cornell. Is the number here, the 4.9 million, is that would that be our cost, whether that's state or our cost, or is that split with Cornell?
Those would be our costs.
Okay, and can you tell if, would this be a new building or is this reuse of a space?
I believe it's reuse of the space.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Sure. And I will double check and make sure that gets put in the right funding source. Okay. Equipment and renewal, same. Next are a number of facilities department projects. The cold storage building, which is online for this year, but has been delayed due to the price of steel. Then we have facilities restoration projects. Let's see. The first facilities restoration project, I'll just highlight as one such project that could be utilized, ARP funds could be utilized here. We have our green facilities projects. And we see a mixture of local share and state funds for these. And the timing of which we're still trying to nail down as to how long a time frame we want to take with these.
Lisa?
Yes.
Every time I hear about the green facilities projects, I guess it's like a lot. I'm wondering if at some point this committee or somewhere else that we can really focus in on that aspect of it, because it's been a couple of years since it was raised and a lot, there's a lot of uncertainty about space and all that. So that's just my request in general. If we could zoom in on that one sometime, whatever, next 6 months, whatever.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. I can speak with Arel on that, and Terry Carroll, our new Chief Sustainability Officer, may be coming up more to speed on that. Okay. Okay, a new downtown office building. Given the unsure of the timeline of construction on these at this point in the draft plan, I've backed out the ARP funds for consideration here. That is something that could be further considered, but we want to really look at the timeline for construction and completion. Public safety building improvements. This is not a new public safety building, but simply the improvements that are needed for the 24/7 operation, including the jail. About $4 million here, and ARP funds could be used here. We would not want to bond for these because of the expected timeline of the usefulness. That does it for those facilities projects. There are a number of highway projects as well. Bridge New York projects, which are 100%, well, not 100%. The funding is state funds, and the local offset we could use ARP funds for these projects. So that is consideration here. Central Chapel Road Bridge over Boise Creek. A mixture of federal funds and local share here. Cortlandt Street Bridge replacement over Owasco Inlet. Again, federal funds and local share planned here. Etna Lane Bridge over Fall Creek. Federal funds and local share. Fall Creek Road Bridge rehab over Fall Creek. Again, federal funds and local share planned. Falls Road Bridge over Deganic Creek. Again, a mixture of federal funds and local share. The Highway Department shop and wash bay improvements, that is all local. Podunk Road Bridge over Deganic Creek, federal funds and local share planned there. Our ongoing road maintenance program would also lend itself nicely to ARP funds. We have, and I think that's it for highway. We have also listed some ITS infrastructure replacement and maintenance costs ongoing, about $2 million here, all of which would be local share. Our Department of Planning and Sustainability, we have a couple of projects here, an aquifer study, about 1.4 million in local share. The Green Fleet Initiative, which is 100% local share, about 1.75 million. Our natural infrastructure projects, 1.6 million in local. And I think we're coming to the end. Recycling and solid waste center upgrades, about 2.6 million, which we are looking, and there's a resolution regarding this today, as this is an ongoing present and future project. That some of which can be offset with ARP funds as well as state funding and our capital reserves. So again, this is a very, very quick run through, a high level overview, but I wanted you all to understand the projects that were on the plate, some of which we'll be considering for use of ARP funds, and we can come back to the committee when we have a finalized plan and some more direction on be a priority for the use of the funds.
Questions? Elisa, if there were projects that are in this group that we thought should be eliminated or postponed, when would be the right time to talk about that with you?
Now and in August, because each of the projects that we take on, there's the calculation of the funds and the debt service, all of which will factor into the operating budget. So the sooner the better.
For example, and you talked about the timeline on the possible county downtown building. That sort of made it into the capital plan a year or so ago. But if it's going to be a much longer process, should we be thinking about postponing that? Are there other projects that maybe we would be better off looking at sooner, for example?
Sure, that's a discussion to have, and looking at the timeline of how that may progress. And if it is postponed, then we may be able to move that in the timeline and push something else up sooner.
Thank you. Anything else, Lisa? We'll wait to get to your microphone, but anything else that you want to bring to our attention this morning?
Just one more item, and it relates again to the capital plan. And
I was just gonna say Martha has her hand up. No, she.
Go ahead, Martha.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Lisa.
one more item as it relates to the capital plan, and that is, I understand that the legislature, the expanded budget committee, will be further discussing ARP, cash for capital, with a resolution. And for some of these capital projects, as if we are going to be proceeding with them as planned, you know, we're looking at, we're carefully studying the timeline and the application of those funds. But if there is a percentage approved to go toward the capital plan and we want to start on that, I'm thinking that that resolution, we should also include the funding for the staff person to manage those funds. That's just, I wanted to give people the heads up so that we can hit the ground running with how to draw down the funds and report, and to make sure that we're doing everything correctly. That's all.
Is that all right, Martha?
Sure, I had that on my own list. I haven't looked at everybody's list yet, but sure. Thank you for letting me ask a couple questions here and weigh in. It's a pretty daunting list, Lisa, and I know it's you know, it does stretch out a lot of years, and that makes sense. As a sort of strategy on this, and kind of in particular thinking about ARPA or not ARPA money, you've got about 5.3 million of ARPA, as I added it up, going towards various highway projects. It seems to me both of the bills going through the Senate right now, through Congress, are going to have a lot of money available for highway and bridge projects. That sort of seems to be the thing everybody agrees with. So I guess an editorial comment or a suggestion of strategy, I think that perhaps it'd be better to wait and see what kind of funds are available through those bills that wouldn't be available for other things. And rather than use ARPA money for highway, I'd be interested in perhaps, for example, using ARPA for the whole Green Fleet program and move that more quickly through through implementation. And also, pieces of the green facilities, whatever we can do on green facilities within the time frame to comply with ARPA. So it's a matter of like switching things around, making sure we pay attention to what other federal money is likely to be coming. Another thing to worry about is just a personal story for a second. We moved into our house about 33 years ago. In the first 5 years, we kind of fixed a whole bunch of things. We're now finding that we have to fix all those things all over again. Sort of things come in a big bolus of repairs. So I worry that if you do a whole lot of similar kind of work in, in the next 2 years. 10 years from now, the county's going to be faced with another big bolus of work, similar kind of work. So there is a wisdom to stretching things out. So timing is just one of the complex issues in all this. And you mentioned that with the downtown facilities, downtown office building. So I agree with delaying that. But just the sort of main picture here, I would add the green facilities and green fleet to the ARPA list, but take highway projects basically out of cash for capital, general strategy. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Martha. Your point's well taken about the potential for other funding for highway infrastructure. So we will be keeping a close eye on that. In terms of the facilities ongoing maintenance, I think some of those projects have been deferred for a while, and we wouldn't want to be doing major upgrades to everything all at once, but these are, I think they've been staged and thought out and are necessary just for the general maintenance and upkeep and safety. So.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Lisa?
That does it for me. Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate it. Let's move to facilities at this point. Arel's out there and Alan's here, right?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
So,
Would you like to report to us? We want to get into a discussion about water bottle filling. Or do you want to start with that?
I think Amanda is on the.
Okay, let's go into that. And do you want to introduce this, or do you want me to just turn it over to Amanda? We put on our list as one of our goals to try to help reduce plastic usage in the county. And so we've invited Amanda because you've had some discussion in your committee, one of your committees on that. So take it away.
Sure, I'll introduce the topic as best I can. So I brought this up as a possible goal for our committee, and it was approved as one of our goals for this year to look at adding water bottle refill stations. Traditionally, people call them water fountains, but now they're called water bottle refill stations. So a couple of reasons. One of the things it goes along with our wanting to, or are actually a policy that we have, is not to buy plastic water bottles, disposable plastic water bottles. And I think it also goes along with increasing the hygiene, is that you have water bottle refill stations versus people drinking right from the water fountain. You would fill up a cup or a bottle from those stations. And so I wanted us to look into that this year. And also, so Amanda is on the committee, I believe it's called the
Environmentally Preferable Procurement
Product Procurement.
EPP, that's just what we call it.
Right, so there's a committee now that's looking at the different products that the county purchases. So I spoke with Barbara Ekstrom yesterday and about how this overlaps with what the committee's work is doing. So Barbara, did you want to explain a little bit about how this overlaps with what the committee is doing,
sure.
or how we can interface
Yeah.
with what the committee's doing?
Yeah, we were, well, first of all, the committee has seven individuals, one of which is Alan from facilities. Nancy Webster coordinates it. I'm on it, Amanda's on it, and a few other department heads. And our plan was to tackle the issue of refillable water bottles, but have Alan, through facilities, take a lead role in doing some work. Nancy Webster was going to also provide some clarification on what they might be like, but there would be, the project would need a program plan. And I think the plan would be to do it in the early fall, along with our cleaning products. We're right now on office products. And basically the plan would have to consist of what is it that would be done, where would these be located, what the funding would be, but it would be basically a very straightforward process that could, we've been working with the Peak committee with that committee on EPP product procurement, but we would bring back a program plan working together with Alan from facilities as well as, Arel supervision. But the group is more than happy to tackle this, make it one of the items of priority starting in September when we finish with office products.
Amanda, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Barb. I think there might have been a little bit of miscommunication about this because Anne had brought it up to this committee and then it came up at the EPP team and we were kind of like, oh, well, what's facilities committee doing? And facilities committee is saying, well, what's the EPP team doing? And so I think the idea of bringing it here was to talk to the F&I committee and see if this is something that the legislature wants to invest in. And like Anne said, there'll be, modern sanitary stations that you've probably seen in airports or, bus stations or whatever, that you just sort of stick your water bottle under and it fills. It's not totally unlike the one we have here, but it's, sort of plugged into the wall and there's no buttons or anything. So it's supposed to be totally sanitary. But rather than the EPP team saying, oh, you should do this, or rather than me or Anne saying, oh, we should do this, trying to follow the committee process and bring it to F&I and see if this is something we want to do. And I think what came up, Barb, in the EPP team was that if this is a direction that the legislature wants to go, you want to make sure, the team wants to make sure we're buying the right product. We don't want to, get something that's outdated, or we want to make sure it's an environmentally preferable product that we're getting.
And I think it does involve, with Alan involved, I think it would be really easy to, work together as a team and come up with that. I'm imagining a 1 to 2 page program plan by early October.
Yeah, and I think part of it is finding out what departments have, what do the buildings have currently, what would need an upgrade, what doesn't need anything. And, that's something that we would turn to Alan and Arel to give us.
Alan is here. I wanted to give him an opportunity to weigh in on this. If you bring down your microphone, please, Alan.
Is it on?
Yeah, just about.
Well, thanks, Mike. So what we've done so far is we've gone through all the buildings to see exactly what we have so far. I was kind of surprised that we have a lot more water coolers like the one here in a lot of our buildings. We have no water fill stations. There are none of those right now. Every building obviously has water fountains. No water fill stations. So we're here to help. We're here to do whatever you need done. Evaluate the different kinds of water fill stations that we have, where they'd be located, what we'd have to do to make sure that they operate, properly and that sort of thing. So, right now we've just done an assessment to see what we have.
Well, that's helpful. I think that's one of the first steps we needed. Anne?
I just wanted to reiterate one thing that Barbara had said, that the committee that we're talking about, they report to the Peak committee, but because this is an actual facilities thing, this is why how this overlaps, with this committee, and F&I would, of course, facilities would have to do the work with this. And so that's why we wanted to hear from them. And But also the finances, F&I would have to approve, the financial investment too for this.
We've got a meeting of the EPP team in August, and I think that what we'll do is work together with Alan. And like I said, we've done some research through Nancy Webster in my office about what other counties and other locations are doing. We'll bring that information to Alan. And I think on this one, Nancy's coordinating office products. And then Alan is going to need to coordinate this with the help of the team. And, there's going to have to be cost estimates, et cetera, that he can put together. And then we're going to go back to Alan again, and we're going to focus on cleaning products for the next phase of the work that the EPP team is doing. I think we can all work together on this, and we can make it happen with I like doing a program plan so that when we go to peak with something, we actually have it clearly spelled out who, what, when, where, how. And Alan, we can talk more with Alan about it at our meeting.
Can I?
Go ahead, ma'am.
I just was going to ask Alan if your assessment included the public library, since that's a building that we.
It did.
Okay, great.
Dave?
Mike, why don't we plan to set up a schedule for a joint meeting and Pete committee and this committee, just when they have their report ready. And
That might be a way of handling it.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds like in the fall.
Okay, well, I think I really appreciate hearing from everyone this morning. I think it's helping us move this goal that we had set along to see whether we want to actually do this investment in the future. And I think it makes a lot of sense if we can cut down the number of plastic bottles that we're seeing.
And plastic cups.
And plastic cups. Remember the old dispensers and they were paper and you kind of squeezed them to put water in?
The cones that you couldn't set down anywhere.
That's right. All right, anything else on this topic? All right, thank you. And I appreciate your being here this morning, Amanda, and thank you, Alan, for your being here. And I want to turn to Arel next about the update on the transformer project.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Thank you for taking time to allow me to provide an update. So over the last month, we've been working with the contractor, Matco Electric, and our electrical engineering consultant, Labella, to look at the best option for replacing the transformer that was damaged at the main courthouse back on June 8th by lightning and thunderstorm that we had. So for now, I think I reported at the last meeting, we temporarily are running all the loads on the other existing transformer that's about 50 years old. It's not a long-term solution by any means. And so something that we want only to do temporarily because we don't want a similar failure to occur with the remaining transformer. So I've got just a quick presentation. If I can share the screen. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay. So just quickly to show, on the left is the transformer that was damaged, a 240 volt transformer about a month and a half ago. It's no longer operational. We transferred all the loads from that transformer over to this one that's on the right side of the room. It's a 208 volt transformer. We had to make some changes so voltages would work on the lower voltage transformer. They're both of the same vintage, and because of that, I don't feel comfortable continuing to run the entire building on this transformer. This switchgear, everything that's in the center here, is just as old and is also going to be replaced as part of this project. This is a site plan of where we are recommending placing the new transformer that indicated last time. The best way to go is with the NYSEG owned transformer, and it would be on the exterior of the building. I've got a close up of the next one. So it would be, if you're looking, standing at the front of the building, it would be on the right corner, right here where my mouse is. Hopefully you can all see it. Be 4 feet away from the building. And there are currently shrubs around this corner to screen the transformer. These are views right now of the main courthouse. This is a view from Court Street looking at the corner where this little flag is. It's really where these shrubs are here. It's behind this shrub here where we're planning to place it. Here's another view from the intersection. It's a corner that's not very visible, and that's why, and it's also actually the best place to locate this transformer. This is a rendering of what it might look like. Actually, the transformer here, that's the correct size. I indicated before it would be no higher than the grates on the windows here on the building, but it actually is going to be tucked further back. It's going to be from the edge of the sidewalk to the face of the transformer. It's going to be about 11 to 12 feet. This picture, it seems to be more like maybe 9 feet, so it'd be tucked further. And then, as I indicated, we would look at putting some shrubs, screening a little more around it to really provide some visual screening from the sidewalk and from the Tioga Street side of the building. The cost, now that it would be provided by NYSEG, would drop probably below 300,000. We're still in the 275,000 range. The high would be possibly 325,000 for the transformer. Now, before I indicated that we were pursuing as another alternate an interior transformer, which would be about $100,000 more. But after further review, because of safety and code requirements, we would not be able to place a transformer inside and achieve the required clearances. So that really option is out of the picture. So at this point, it's really an exterior mounted dry transformer. And that's our recommendation at this point to move forward. NYSEG has already done all of their studies and they're ready to order the transformer, which is a long lead item. I mean, it's months. And so our hope is that we can get moving as quickly as possible, because we don't want to get into situations. As you know, we've had thunderstorms actually since we had that almost every week and sometimes every day. Our concern is that the existing transformer might have a very shorter life because of the surges that we're experiencing, especially in the downtown area. So yeah, if there's any questions at this point, my plan is to move forward and give direction to NYSEG to place the order and for us to start preparing for the switch out of the existing transformer with the exterior mounted dry transformer. It would then become NYSEG's responsibilities. I indicated before, the transformers that are inside are our responsibility, and we're not set up to respond as quickly to replacement of transformers as NYSEG would be if should anything in the future happen to the NYSEG owned transformer.
Thank you, Rael. Questions? Ann?
Thanks, Rael, for the presentation, and the pictures help a lot for me to visualize where it's going to go. And so one question I had was, is the county then has to pay for the transformer, but after that, NYSEG is totally responsible for repair replacement? Is that correct?
No. So the initial plan was that we would own the transformer either way, but in talking with NYSEG, it was better that they own the transformer, so we would not be paying for the transformer per se. We would pay NYSEG a fee for that initial installation. And so we're waiting to get what that fee would be. It would be nowhere close to the cost of a transformer, which is probably around $50,000 if we were to purchase our own. So it's a fee versus initial investment in owning a transformer.
So did you say $50,000 we'd have to pay versus what?
That's what we would be saving, is $50,000 by having NYSEG own the transformer.
So we only have to pay $50,000 of the transformer of the
No.
new one.
No, we would be saving
Oh,
$50,000.
saving, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. Okay. So we would be paying around 275,000 for a new transformer, and then we're done with the cost forever, sounds like, right?
Well, the 275 is all the work required to place the transformer outside. There's trenching from a power line on Court Street, trenching to the location for this new transformer. Then from that location, all the cabling and trenching into the building, all the switchgear inside the building is being replaced, removal of the 2 existing transformers out of that space. So all of that materials and labor is on us. The transformer that would be set there, we would have to set it there, so that's our cost for the transformer. You're not paying for the transformer itself.
So is the total project cost 275 or
Correct.
the transformer?
The project cost is 275
Okay,
to 325. I gave a range.
okay, thank you. It sounds like I like the idea of NICEAG having to take responsibility for it after that. So thank you.
Yes, and as I indicated before, we filed an insurance claim. So almost the majority of all the costs would be paid through our insurance provider.
Great.
Good news. Arel, last time we were talking about our concern about the magnolia tree, were you going to consult with the city forester? Did that happen?
Not yet. I've tried, but I've not been able to connect with the city forester.
Okay.
But I think I indicated before that in all our conversations with the contractors and all the trenching, anything around or close to the trees will be hand dug. No mechanical excavation anywhere close to the existing magnolia trees. We would do everything to protect those trees and shrubs in that area.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else you want to bring to our attention today, Arel?
No, it's just that we've had, as I indicated, that a lot of thunder and lightning storms that has affected not only this building, but others, not to this magnitude, but we've had a lot of momentary power outages. I indicated, I think at the last report that I did provide Lisa with some estimates of what it would take to provide emergency power backup to many of our facilities in the downtown area, including your facility, the old jail, main courthouse. And so that's something that we should consider for the future. But I don't think that the events that we're having are going to go away. They're becoming much more and more frequent.
So you're going to be saying that we might want to add that as a capital project?
Yes.
When would we know if we want to do that?
Well, I submitted something for review to Lisa, but also there are grants available that may be able to offset most, if not all, of the costs to do this.
All right, so that's in process.
Yeah, so I've been working with the planning department for a few months to further investigate this.
All right. Thank you. All right, anyone else for Arel before we move on? Let's go to Barbara for Department of Recycling and Materials Management. Barbara?
Okay,
I see
well,
Leo's here too.
yeah, Leo's here to speak to the capital projects and the audits. We have a resolution in front of you that's pretty straightforward. In January, you approved a resolution authorizing the contract with Casella, including the construction work. And we're in progress, and I've worked with Rick, and we've developed this resolution in order for there to be funding in the right places. As we had planned when Jason and I met with you last year in November to take a look at how we're going to pay for this so that we aren't bonding. So what we're doing is we're taking money out of 4 sources. We've had an equipment reserve that's going to pay for the compactor. And then there's money from the construction fund that we've also saved. And then the other piece is from the fund balance, which is currently about $2.4 million. So once this is authorized and the work, continues, it'll be done by the end of August. And we're full throttle to get all that done. So that's what this resolution is all about. It's required by finance.
So we go ahead with that resolution then, since we're talking about it. We've added it to the agenda. Does someone want to move it? And is there a seconded by Glenn? So you want to explain it?
I think she just did.
I thought I did.
Yeah, I think she just did explain it.
Are we happy?
I mean, we're all set. We're glad we're not borrowing for it. And, it's been in our capital program budget. And this is just that, we could have added this back back when we approved it in January, but we didn't know what the amounts exactly were going to be with bids. And now we're all set.
Okay. Ready to vote? Did we lose Dan? Let's postpone the vote until Dan gets back here. Coming back. And I'm calling for a vote on the resolution we added to the agenda.
Sorry about that.
All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Any questions on the information item capital payment summary? Substantial payment on the RSWC upgrades, $413,000 has been paid to date. Current payment is $191,000. Not seeing any questions, I guess move on. Anything else, Barbara or Leo?
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's go to Jeff Smith of Highway.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning.
Today, a couple things on the agenda for Highway, committee only resolution seeking authorization to advertise for construction bidding for the Pine Tree Road Highway Safety Improvement Project. This is a crosswalk project. This is, I believe the committee would remember hearing about this project through many phases over the last several years. And the right-of-way phase is now complete, so we're able to obligate funding and move forward.
I'd take a motion to authorize approval. Glenn, seconded by Dave. Any discussion on that? I think you're right. Jeff, we've talked about this a lot of times.
Yeah.
Quite a few. All in favor of the motion? That's unanimous.
Thank you. We have the quarterly status report, which is shared around the county with various department heads. I can go through it. That's typically what we've been doing, but in the interest of time, I can do whatever the committee wishes.
Well, I think we've got some time that we can at least go through them.
Okay.
I think it's important since these projects
Yeah,
are all Things are happening on a lot of them.
Agree. Thank you. First page, Central Chapel Road. This is moving forward. The low bidder is Silverline Construction. It's a construction company that we've worked with many times in the past. They're a good company to work with. We expect this to be completed this season. We have just received bids to give notice to proceed to the contractor, I should say authorization from DOT. So even though after we've all done our parts, there's a lot of steps that happen at the state level. This is a Bridge New York project, and the funding is all, we did not have to look for more funding. It was all within what we were allocated under that program, which was good news. Etna Lane kind of bogged down. It was running parallel.
Is that bridge going to be totally closed while during construction, or what's going to happen?
Yes, there will be a local detour in place on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's the plan at this time. Etna Lane Bridge has run very closely parallel, but then was bogged down a little bit with the right-of-way phasing. We're looking at this point, I know there's been some agreements and some maps signed, so we're moving along there on the right-of-way end of things. Once that clearance is given, we'll be able to obligate construction funding and bidding. We plan on bidding that this year as well, but we are expecting this to be construction in next year. This time of the year, by the time we obtain authorization to go to bid, go through the bidding process and the award process, which is going to take a couple of months, and starting a bridge project that late in the fall seems crazy to say right now, but a few months from now, I wouldn't want to start a bridge project that could be started next year. We also feel it's advantageous for good bid numbers, giving that construction company, anticipation for, work coming out in the spring, gives them a long lead time for any procurement of materials. Once the bid is awarded, they can begin doing that. So we are hearing, as we have with the state project on 34, there's been a big delay in steel, large span beams. This is a steel bridge, so that could be one advantage of giving that long timeline from bid award to construction.
The driving surface, that won't be that open steel anymore, will it?
No, we don't do those bridges anymore. That's not
good.
A favorable design.
They're not good for bicycles.
They used to be good before we started using salt.
Thank you.
Yep. And certainly speak up if you have any questions as I'm going through these. East Hill intersection safety improvement project, just talked about that. It was a different name. I just talked about giving approval to bid. It was Pine Tree Road intersection safety improvement project. So that's the same project for the crosswalk. Station Road streams. We've been in contact with DEC trying to move the permit process along. And we're developing permit documents right now as we speak. Looking for pushing that into next year as well for the completion of that project. If you remember back, we do have the box culverts have been ordered and paid for. The construction piece of the drainage is complete. We're really looking for the DEC to determine what we need to do in the stream portion of that project before we install anything or do any major construction. Morel Road Bridge. This is a new field. We're really looking at various options here. What's in place now is really meeting the need for the really few residences across the road. There's no posted weight limit on that single span. It is our Bailey Bridge. It's about 70 feet, which we have about 140 feet. We're really leaning towards removing the old structure and leaving the Bailey Bridge in place and buying from the same company that still makes this bridge buying another 70 feet pieces so that we remain the keep us incapable of, keep the remaining capability of having that temporary bridge at our disposal for other needs. We're troubled. It doesn't make sense to pull that bridge out of there and just move it 10 feet over. It's fine where it is. We can improve the approaches and kind of leave it there. That's our most recent thinking.
I guess I'm not following that. Maybe it's just me. Are you talking about leaving it there permanently?
We're talking about leaving the Bailey Bridge there permanently. It is meeting the needs of the residents there. It's a single span bridge. There's no posted weight limit, anything, road maintenance, delivery wise can cross it. The thought is to look at options on replacing the existing bridge or the old bridge where it was with a new bridge, and running cost comparisons and things. It's going to be very expensive when we have what's in place right now, which is meeting the need. That is our recommendation at this time. So we would probably take steps to pull that older bridge that had a very low posting and wasn't meeting the needs out of there, leaving the temporary bridge, which would now be considered a permanent bridge, in place. That is our temporary bridge that was purchased several years ago with a 140-foot span. There's 70 feet of span there. And what we would do is, as opposed to putting a new bridge next to it that's really similar to what's there, we would purchase 70 feet of additional temporary Bailey Bridge sections. They come in 10-foot sections. So we would buy 7 sections. They're very erector set that would work with the remaining 70 feet. So we would keep the 140-foot ability to, in an emergency or another situation, do a similar type thing like we did here.
Well, then, excuse me, Dave, let me just ask this question and I'll get you. Do we have to buy another Bailey Bridge so we have a temporary bridge?
We would have to have exactly the same, we have to buy another 70 feet, which is nominal price. I can update. I don't know off the top of my head right now what that is.
Oh, okay, maybe that's why I wasn't understanding. So you'd be buying this to replace it. I was thinking you were having to add on to this in order to make it the right length.
No.
For Morrow. Okay, now I understand. Sorry, Dave?
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm not personally familiar with that particular area, so I'm not exactly sure where it is. Anyway, do we expect that leaving the Bailey Bridge there would be sufficient for the next 30 years or so?
30 years. It would not be equatable to a 50-year structure of a new bridge. Something will have to be addressed within that time frame. I think it's safe to say you have 10 to 20 years on that with maintenance, or I don't see that these bridges, the lifespan of these bridges is definitely not as good as like a full concrete structure, modernly built new bridge, when it's there for 50 to 75 years. I would not say that, but I don't think that I'm stumbling at trying to put a year on that, but it's good for the, foreseeable future, easily 10 years.
Okay, and about what was the cost for 7 sections of that bridge?
I don't know that. I'd have to get back to the committee on what that is, but it'll be a lot less than re-erecting a new structure next to it in place of the original old structure that's now closed. You're talking $1 million to $150,000, something like that. Might be less, might be a little. I'm guessing at the cost of 7 panels of a Bailey Bridge.
Okay, okay. All right, well, when you get those costs, we'll discuss it further if necessary.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Next one, Boswick Road Facility. We're looked at, used some of this funding for air compressors, some air quality or some noise quality improvements. Pushed it off till, later this year. We're trying to work with some procurements, and we're looking at replacing the floor. We're working with vendors on like liquid supply, fluid supplies, oils, things like that, to work around and make the job of the mechanics much more improved. We're looking at infrared heating system out there that is really great. We have it presently in our wash bay area. Heats up all the objects in the room, heats the floor up. It's really good when you're raising and lowering doors. You don't lose a lot of your air. Heat comes back real quick. So those are the things that we're kind of progressing along out there. This money is kind of there to be totally transparent. It's not something that's a high priority for us. We look at, our bridge work, things that have deadlines. That takes up a lot of our time. So when we get a chance, we go back to this, and we're stepping through it and really determining the best way to spend the money to improve our shop area. Bridge New York County culverts. You see in the capital plan, at this time, we've been in contact with DOT. The project estimate is above what they've indicated through the time. We've had to increase it another 200,000. It's still, it's 1.7 million. The state is paying about a little over 3 million. So we're still, to the positive, I feel. We're looking at using ARPA funds for this 1.7 million as an option. We are in the position now where they've asked us to front the money, forward the money, so that we have it under agreement and it's all obligated, so that they can progress into the bidding phase. Originally, this project was planned for this year. Different environmental DEC time. It took time getting through the permit process with these 6 culverts, but at this time, the right-of-way is complete. They're looking for obligations of funds. We've asked the DOT some questions. They're kind of starting to come back with us with some answers. But I would guess that the committee will see a resolution next month to enter into a contract with DOT to move this project forward. And the local share is going to be 1.7 million. We have a couple scenarios. We're working with Lisa administration and finance. We're kind of working with a couple scenarios, but one is to use the ARPA funds on this. So I appreciate any consideration in either direction, but you'll hear more, and we'll have more information next month on these 6 culvert projects. Project closeout summary: Ludlowville Bridge is all complete. There's road striping, there's some punch list items, but from a billing financial side of it and any other, further additional work, the bridge is complete and open to traffic. These are the last page has been trailing along. We have Carter Road Bridge that's still remains closed out in Newfield that leads into Connecticut Hill, and there really hasn't been any interest or funding to try and resurrect that structure. Fall Creek Road, that is a future project. You see that on the tip. That will likely go into like some consultant selection and design phases in 2022. And then Cortlandt Street over Owasco, that bridge is in the capital plan, and as well as Falls Road and Podunk Road. Those were added to the capital plan. There's a lot more to come and information to come, but those are the 3 bridges that we've asked and submitted for Bridge New York applications. So we expect later this fall to hear on those. They were all submitted, and we hope that we'll be, equally successful as we have been in the past with Bridge New York funds. But those are the 3 bridges that we've submitted. So Cortlandt Street, Podunk Road, and Falls Road, which is it's a stone arch structure above the Teganic Falls. that's it for that. The next thing is the capital payment summary report. Back to you, Mike, if you wanna.
Okay, any questions on the summary report? I guess not. Anything else for Jeff that you want to bring to our attention, or any other questions for Jeff?
Nothing big, just a lot going on with capital projects, those 6 culverts. Like I said, we're coming in next month. You're gonna hear, hopefully we have a resolution to present and move through the committee to enter an agreement to continue to move those forward so they can get them bid this year, and then construction will be next year.
Dave?
Jeff, did you get to that project in Newfield yet?
We're starting Schaefer Road soon. When we're mobilized and working in the area, that's when we plan on fixing that outlet of that culvert. So no, we haven't been there yet, but it's known that it's part of this summer's work. And when we have resources in the area, some equipment and manpower, then we'll direct it to that location.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to check with you. I haven't heard from the fellow yet.
No, I haven't either. Yeah, my last conversation. Sorry.
I never know if he's going to call me or not, so I just wanted to.
My last conversation with him, he was very happy. I described how we're gonna fix it, and he seemed, happy about it. So we'll see. I don't expect that you'll get a call, but if you do, I'm sure you'll let me know.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Hey, we appreciate it. Mike Hall, do you want to come on up? Before we start with the airport, I see Aaron Becker on the screen. Aaron, are you just observing, or did you want to report something to us today?
Yeah, I'm just down with you guys observing for right now. I don't need to report anything. I'm just trying to follow along with what you're doing.
Well, we're glad to have you here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Mike Hall.
Well, thanks, Mike. Good to see everybody in person again. Things are extremely busy at the airport, and I wanted to ask for a couple minutes today just to bring you up to speed so that you're not hit hard as we get into the fall. I think you're aware we just finished a very comprehensive operations inspection without discrepancy, which is unprecedented. Same thing's going on with security right now. And on top of that, the airlines are adding flights.
Mike, let's underscore that, what you just said. Hopefully everyone's aware of it, but that report from FAA, second year in a row, no issues. I think that's terrific.
Yeah, there's no other airport that can make that claim. So people work really hard, especially through the pandemic. That was difficult. And the reaction of the other airports in New York is, you gotta be kidding me, because they had the same inspector and wound up with a lot of paper to answer. So kudos to the team up there. Couple things to bring to mind. In the first round of the upstate airport improvement grants, we received 36 million. 14.2 came to us to improve the terminal and build the customs facility. 22 million went to New York State DOT to move their facility off the waterfront up to the airport. The second round of upstate airport improvement grants has been announced by the governor. He announced in May, $250 million this time. That's 50 million more than in round one. And Ithaca is on the list of eligible airports. Before the pandemic, we had two themes. One was to develop a solar-powered airport of the future. The other was to create a multi-mode transportation center, and that was to be able to receive TCATs move off the waterfront to the airport. Those two themes are really well received in Albany, and we've been encouraged that in round two we should pursue those themes in our application. solar powered airport involves the development of a lot of electrical infrastructure so that all ground vehicles, cars, buses, ramp service vehicles have the opportunity to convert to electric mobility and be able to be charged. You've seen in the spot in the short-term parking lot a portico or a shelter that has solar panels on the roof. We would consider replicating that throughout the parking area in order to add the solar generation capability and also better protect cars in the lot. There's not sufficient room in the airport to do what Denver has done, which is to create its own solar field within the airport boundary. So we're also proposing that we create a circuit and connect that circuit to a large generating field if a suitable source can be found. So that's the electrical side of this thing, all intended to position us for to meet the state and county goals that start to hit within 2 decades now. And if we don't get started right now, we won't be able to hit those goals and targets. TCAT piece has changed as a result of the pandemic, and TCAT wants to reassess their positioning going forward. So the multimode terminal then would focus on positioning that property and infrastructure to be able to accept TCAT in the future, should they decide they do want to move. It would also provide docking stations for electric buses, cars, and there would be parking that will help the airport parking situation because we're going to be very tight. We recover from service. And it would provide the opportunity for people, for example, to drive to a peripheral lot, plug their car in, and take an electric shuttle bus downtown, do their business, come back up, and the car's ready to go. That's sort of the broad concept we're working on here. That would also bring education and training into play. There's an opportunity here, a huge requirement to train commercial drivers and to test commercial drivers. And so the creation of a classroom and a facility where that training can take place would be appropriate. Also, maintenance of electric vehicles, and that would bring BOCES in as a partner to this whole thing. So that's generally the direction we're working on. We'll be back to you in August with a more specific list of what fits in the shopping bag and what doesn't. And then the proposal has to be placed with the state mid-September. Then there's going to have to be a lot of work back and forth as we did the last time in order to get support for the proposal and be one of the awardees. Fortunately, most of the people in Albany that we dealt with previously are still there. So the relationships are in place and give us an opportunity to make sure that our ideas are known and accepted. All this is happening very fast. That's why I wanted to take just a couple minutes today to put it on the table for you, because if the grant has to be submitted, proposal has to be submitted in mid-September, that leaves just the August F&I committee as a normal scheduled event to take a look at what we're proposing in detail and work from there. Everybody wants to know how much. Well, there's $250 million out there. I know Binghamton is in a very, very strong position. They did not get an award the last time. We know that it's on the list. And we're going to be spending the next few weeks trying to get some intelligence about how many awards the state's looking at, and therefore what a reasonable share for a community like Ithaca might be. And then that'll be our budget when we put the proposal together. No sense in asking for $250 million. We're not going to get the entire amount, but how much can we justify as part of this project is a question that remains open. I guess any questions about this opportunity before I talk about developing supporting services at the airport?
Mike, I'm hearing questions about, that in the first round, our project ended up having to bond more than, or likely to bond more than we had thought from the beginning. And the questions are, how much are we going to be hit for if we get a grant here? And is that going to be local money? And I know you probably can't answer that 100%, but what's your take on this?
Well, I can't answer it 100%, but what happened before was we went into round one requiring an estimated $8 million bond just to get the terminal to be able to stay open from a security point of view, much less all the rest of the considerations that are part of air travel. Where we're going to wind up bonding that first project is still up in the air. We still have an open issue with NYSEG and the no pipe alternative. We've requested $1.5 million as part of that settlement. We were recently removed from the pool of qualified applicants based on a technicality, which we believe to be demonstratively erroneous. So we filed an appeal, and we're making sure that everyone in Albany understands that 1.5 was part of the calculation when we put the package together. But I think to answer your question more completely, this is additional stuff. Previously, we had to make a move one way or another, with or without the state, in order to improve the capability of the airport and make sure that it was compliant. This time, I see much less exposure to local money because we're talking about adding things to a great foundation that was put in place in round one. That's obviously a concern for everybody, and we'll be paying close attention to that, and I'll have a better answer for you in August.
Okay. That'll be kind of important to our budgeting process for the fall. Idea of what our costs are going to be.
Yeah, no, this is a very fast developing subject, right? It was announced mid-May. Remember midway? It was only 2 months ago. We were all locked down, and now all of a sudden we're scampering really hard trying to keep up with things. But this grant, you can assume is something that would be announced a year from now, not much sooner than that. Probably we've got elections coming up, and a lot of there's another side of the grant, which is the political side. We can't deal with that. We just have to put forth something that's very meritorious and forward-looking, and that's what we'll brief you on in August before we get to the next point. But I don't see it having a budget impact for a year or two. And again, I think that what we're talking about doing in this grant is important elective work. Therefore, I don't see the necessary obligation of the county that was there previously for absolutely required to stay open type work. That makes sense?
I think so.
Okay.
Ann's got a question.
Thanks. First off, Mike, I just wanted to ask if you could back off the mic about 4 to 6 inches. Thanks. We have speakers, as you probably do here. It's just kind of loud.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sounds like I'm not transmitting. That's why. Okay.
Okay.
I'm back.
So with our meeting in August, it sounds like with the deadline for the grant in September, and so it sounds like for August, we need to vote on this. Absolutely, so we can't postpone it. Just wondering how, I don't know if you know now, but I just want to put in the request for the sooner we could have information to be able to look at it,
Right.
Before just like 1 week,
I understand. We're in a real time compression.
and I'm sure other legislators are also going to want to look at it.
and for that reason, among other things, it may be necessary to have a special meeting, but in addition to August, but the submission date's right about the time of F&I in September. So, yeah. Meanwhile, right now, the people that are working with me pulling this together are scattered all over the place in summer vacation, and we're working on it. So, but I understand that the time criticality totally.
All right, thank you.
Let me just kind of take the pulse of the committee. I'm sorry. Let me take the pulse of the committee here.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Hi.
I'm sorry, Martha, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
I know, it's so hard here. I just on the question of the cost of the first airport renovation and expansion, sort of amplify what Mike said about sort of the urgency of keeping the existing facility open and running. If folks may not remember sort of PTSD kind of amnesia here, we also had this extreme pressure from the governor to meet the December deadline to be open again, so that Mike was having to pay all of those workers overtime over the Thanksgiving holiday, for example. So there were some extreme costs that added up that, as I understand it, wouldn't be relevant here because we don't have to keep any. This would all be new. It's nothing that we have to keep open or maintain service. So the idea of cost overruns might not be such an issue. So I just want to ask also, this would be need approval from the full legislature to to submit the grant to, not just the committee? I can't remember what the process would be.
I'm not sure we did that last time, but it's obviously up to this legislature whether or not they want to approve the proposal.
I think there's usually
for the application, you mean?
The application, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I just wanted to, as I said, take the pulse of the committee. Do we have any objections here for Mike proceeding with this grant application?
So
No, but I would wonder about getting approval from the whole legislature.
Well, there's going to have to be I think that's why you're talking about a special meeting, aren't you, for the application?
No, what I'm saying is you're going to meet again in a month.
Right.
And we're not going to have it finished. We're not going to have it ready to mail document in a month. It's just not possible. It's over the summer, what have you. So we'll have a good executive summary in a month. And that may be all you really care about anyway, because the rest of it's going to be a lot of appendages and this, that, and the other thing. It's detailed, probably goes beyond the approval level. So.
Would you like a resolution authorizing the middle of the grant? I don't think we need it, but if that would make us, any of you feel more comfortable, we could do it.
So what's the usual procedure for a
it's got to come to us before it goes to the legislature, if it needs to go to the legislature.
So does it? Well, that's what I'm asking is.
Kathy,
Yeah.
I believe the process is that it just comes to committee for information. At that level.
So where would we?
I can go confirm it real quick if you'd like.
Sure, thank you.
Well, there is another factor too, and that is, first of all, we may not be selected. Second of all, if we are selected, we don't have to accept it. Because all that's going to happen way out in the future. I mean, it's like if we were having this discussion two years ago, TCAT's moving to the airport. Now they made the decision, but obviously it was overcome by events. So I think, some of this is perhaps best approached by sort of rolling forward, seeing how things develop. There was a lot of negotiation last time too, after the award with the governor's office. So it's a pretty dynamic situation if you're an awardee.
So grant applications require program committee information only. Grant acceptance, if not budgeted, require program committee Grant acceptance requires program committee approval and legislature approval if not budgeted.
So, Dan?
I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the TCAT part of it. You know, there's some thoughts about TCAT in this, and TCAT board has not weighed in on it, has not even discussed it fully, but we've discussed it a little bit, and Scott Vanderpool, executive director of TCAT, is very excited by the idea. I am excited by the idea of what I've heard so far about what TCAT's role might be in this and the resources that would be potentially available for TCAT. Our TCAT's ridership is still very low. It has not rebounded, 30% the last time I heard. We're all optimistic and hoping that those numbers rebound in the fall when the universities start operating at full capacity. But the one thing that hasn't changed in our thinking over the last, TCAT's thinking over the last few years, is a move towards a all electric or mostly electric fleet. And that seems to be the main component of, at this time, of what would be involved in this grant and this thinking for the airport that would benefit TCAT is electric infrastructure. So even though, you know, there's lots of uncertainty at TCAT, and even though the board is not exactly weighed in on this, I think it's, I'm pretty confident in saying that the idea of electric infrastructure at the airport is something TCAT would be, you know, very interested in, open to, excited about, and would want to participate in.
Thank you for that, Dan.
Well,
Yeah, at least charging stations suitable for electric buses. And then reserve space should we look to a phased build out over time or relocation.
Thanks, Kathy, for looking that up for us too.
Sure.
So I'll work with Lisa to figure out what that means. And when I'm not sitting in the spotlight, and we'll work with you to make sure you're informed as this comes together. Move to the other subject.
I just want to make sure everyone's done with this one.
Okay.
You're okay, Lisa? Okay. Yes, please.
So we currently have recovered 2/3 of the seats in market pre-pandemic, and the airplanes are full. By the end of the year, if schedules don't change, and that's an if, because we know that in parts of the country, the virus is growing, the Delta variant, what have you. But plans right now will be fully recovered starting into 2022. Our challenge is not as much with the airlines as it is with all the corollary services that are part of the travel experience. And one of those very obviously is food and beverage. And I don't think it's any surprise to you that the food and beverage sector has been struggling to get workers back and recover capabilities. That's true at the airport. And in addition, the market has changed. The airport alone is not sufficient to support commercial food service. You've got pulses of people coming through and not enough sales, you know, to really sustain a business. You've got to be able to draw people in. 3 years ago, we were talking about expanding the airport. Drawing in was things like the Cornell Tech Park. Now you've got people working remotely, and you got the ability to pick up your phone, order lunch, and it comes right to your door in a bag. So the market's changed remarkably. We're going to need to put out an RFP to find a different food vendor at the airport. We appreciate tremendously what the current vendor has done and tried to do, but it's just not working from a business point of view. So those of you that have a business hat on understand that ideas are great, but they got to pencil out. And this is going to take a different approach, and that'll be reflected in the RFP, and it'll be coming out shortly. And the rest of it is like herding cats. You know, it's a lot of service people are not back to work. And so the airlines are right out at the tip of the spear, and everybody's trying to, you know, catch up with the boom in travel and get back to where we were in January 2020. And we'll get there. It's just a bit of a struggle to get there. Questions about that?
So the current vendor is done at this point?
No, they're still providing what they can provide, but it's not a broad enough spectrum of coverage to be the solution for years to come. So we're looking to find somebody for whom their business model is a better fit for today's market. And that's what the RFP is going to try to identify.
And the contract ends when?
The current contract ends several years in the future.
Okay, but there's an out on it?
We've had discussions and you know, our mutual understanding is that what looked really good time past is not working out. So it's time to, you know, to move in different direction.
Gotcha.
And I think, you know, this is all above everybody. It's a good discussion. It's a healthy business discussion. So.
Ian.
Thank you. Can you say any more detail about their services? I mean, are they not providing the number of hours? They're not providing options? Like what's their limited?
Well, the problem is with the new terminal, we got food service and beverage service on both sides of security. That's a problem in itself. Now you got to have two activities where in the old days there was one. You've got to have people in there at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. You got to have people in there at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And you got some people in there around noon, and there's nothing going on in between. It's a real big challenge. And just to give you an idea of what will work, it's having that 12-hour coverage, if you will, and between the pulses, which we will always have because they're driven by the heartbeat of the hub that you're going to. You need to be working catering and you know, distribution out of the kitchen to keep your people busy producing, you know, food for an event or something like that. That's what it boils down to. So we need somebody that has, in my opinion, that has an established catering network in addition to looking for a site.
So I guess I'm still not, so they are able to provide services
That right now we're not able to provide services for all three pulses, which aren't completely aligned anyway. It's one starting at you know, 6 in the morning and one ending at 5 in the afternoon.
So you're saying they're not able to provide food during those times? I'm just trying to get a clarity. It's like if somebody asked me, if I go to the airport and I'm getting on a flight and I get there at this time, am I going to get lunch or breakfast before or after?
That's what's hurting right now. And we've added vending machines, the same vendor that's at Cornell, that have, you know, more substantial food, not candy bars in the vending machines as a temporary stopgap. We've got to get the kitchens going. Right now, there's no capability on the part of the existing vendor to be able to do that within their post-pandemic business model.
So are they providing food? I'm just having a
they're not.
hard time understanding what's really going on up
Providing
there.
food through vending, but not live food right now.
So there's machines,
right?
No live food service now. Okay.
We have to fix that. And so we're going to try to fix it by finding a vendor who has a business model that allows them to stay open and do that.
And trying to drive,
because
you know, other people to come there for meals and from other places.
Except that's part of the change in the market. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any other questions then for the airport?
Thank you for coming in and bringing us up to speed on these issues.
So it's a beautiful summer weekend. And of the 3 southern tier airports, only one is isolated enough that they can have an air show, and that's Binghamton. And Binghamton has an air show this weekend, and they have the United States Air Force Thunderbirds performing. 3 decades ago, I hired the first woman to fly the F-16, which was extraordinarily controversial. This year, the Thunderbird solo is a woman. And I just want to say that it's nice to see that some of these social changes that we work really hard to make happen do happen. You just have to wait a long time sometimes. But I'm going to be be really pleased to see that number 5 jet take off this weekend.
Well, that's interesting to hear about. We missed some of the activities up at the airport over the years that we haven't had the last year or two. So,
Okay, thank you.
You mentioned the other airports. I was just wondering, when Elmira got its grant, it was a lot of it went into that restaurant it built down there. I wonder if they're having the same kind of issues.
Yeah, the 3 Southern Tier airports nobody has reliable food service. I mean, I've worked at the Elmira Airport for decades and at Wings of Eagles, and just a rotating door, trying to get somebody that can make a business go. And we will be successful here, but nobody else has been successful. And we haven't been successful really since Brian's Landing, which was back in the old terminal.
I remember.
Near where East Hill is. So it's tough. Our market's just on the edge. So, and you don't have people waiting between flights like you do in a hub where, they want to spend money and have something to eat while they're waiting for their flight.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Well, I have to admit to my bad, and that is in the discussion about the Bridge New York funding, I had intended to completely review the proposal from Jeff Smith and mark it up for you. And I simply haven't had a chance to do that. So I will be doing that before the next meeting. The other transportation thing, which I thought was of interest, Mike Sigler, apparently before COVID, wrote a letter to New York State Department of Transportation regarding the accident problem at the intersection of Route 13 and Lower Creek Road, where there have been a number of bad accidents back then and even now. And he just sent me and some of the others here, I don't know whether you all got it, a copy of his the response from DOT saying that they had done a traffic study of it, that intersection, and that they thought that it needed to change the striping for the to a no passing zone nearby, and also to set up a flasher, traffic signal, red, yellow, up there somewhere. I don't know exactly how they're going to do that, but they'll see if they can get it on the schedule. But it's nothing. They don't have any dates for it or anything like that. My immediate question when I read that was, did they look at the recommendations from our consultant on the Route 13 study? And I think we need to, at the ITCTC meeting, I will raise that issue with New York State DOT reps when I'm over there. There's a planning meeting, I believe, next week. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Can we take the minutes? I guess Dan moved them and Ann has seconded them. Discussion about the minutes. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Did we lose Dave? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize he'd excused himself.
Usually the F&I meetings are much shorter, so we don't have, this issue.
Lisa, absolutely.
One item, I wanted to note that Mike Steitley is joining us on the Zoom call because we were talking about the PAR form that included Department of Emergency Response. Mike is our new director of the Department of Emergency Response. So I just wanted to give you the chance to say hello.
Mike, can you show us your face? We're pleased to have you aboard.
Oh, I'm fine. Sorry, I was having difficulty. Yes, I absolutely will come on. And I got Jess here. She's been sitting in on the meeting with me and coaching me along. But good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet some of you, I guess, for a second time through Zoom. And I really do look forward to meeting everybody personally and getting to know you.
Well, we're glad to have you joining us to hear about our PAR forms and other things, I'm sure. And we appreciate that. Thanks for being here. I want to point out that Lauren's been with us also during this meeting. Thank you, Lauren.
Sure thing.
Ready to adjourn? All right, let's adjourn. Thank you.